We asked folks coming into the polls, do you identify as a Republican? Do you identify as a Democrat? Or do you identify as an independent? And here's what we found in this exit poll so far.
That's MSNBC talking about the exit polls from the New Hampshire GOP primary last night and revealing something a little, snaky. Welcome to Nerk News, the only unconventionally conservative show on YouTube. You can tell because I have a weird voice. I'm Nerkish. Looks like Trump won the New Hampshire primary last night, and today we're going to be taking a few minutes to break down something no one seems to be talking about.
And I think this jumps right out at you. A minority of voters in this first wave of the exit poll in the Republican primary identify as Republicans. A majority, 53%, identify as either independents, 45%, or, and this is a high number historically, 8% identify as Democrats. For some context here, in 2016, the last competitive Republican presidential primary in New Hampshire, the electorate was 55% Republican. It was 42% independent, and it was 3% Democratic. So in this initial wave, you're seeing some significant differences from 2016.
So the majority of voters last night in the GOP primary were not Republicans. Now, this isn't illegal or anything. New Hampshire is an open primary state, and a lot of conservatives have moved away from registering as Republicans if they don't have to, due to, let's say, reasons. What is revealing, though, are Democrats essentially admitting that they were voting to weaken the GOP's chances of winning the general election.
Nikki Haley.
And why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
It's a vote against Trump. I think it would be better to have her against Biden in the elections than it would be Trump and her.
Do you consider yourself generally independent, Republican, or Democrat?
Democrat.
So when you undeclared, you voted for Nikki Haley. If it was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden in a general election, who are you voting for?
Joe Biden.
Neat. He seems like a neat guy. Now, it's clear that Haley is the establishment choice. Notice how when Trump won Iowa, the only speeches CNN and MSNBC showed were from DeSantis and Haley. It's because they know that she's likely going to lose a general election, and on the off chance that she did win, she's basically a Democrat anyway, so who cares? And this was a sentiment that was echoed by a lot of prominent members on the left, like Mark Cuban, who, in 2021, was crying about troll farms on Facebook, but recently thought it'd be a good idea for Democrats to give Haley a boost in Iowa. I believe this is what MSNBC calls strategic voting.
That's right, Rachel. The polls are closed here in Hanover, which is really a liberal stronghold here in New Hampshire. It's actually the town where former President Donald Trump did the worst in back in 2016. And I've been speaking to voters all day, and there's really been two types of voters generally who I've been speaking to. One, registered Democrats who are writing in Joe Biden as a show of solidarity, a symbolic show of solidarity with the president. And the other, which is an undeclared voter who has a more liberal leading ideology and who seems to be voting for Nikki Haley almost strategically. And one of those voters is with me right now, Christian, a freshman from Dartmouth College, rather. Christian, who did you vote for and why?
Yeah, so thank you. I voted for Nikki Haley, and it was certainly a strategic vote. I think the DNC is fairly resolute in their nomination for Joe Biden. And while I wouldn't vote for her in a general election, particularly on our differences with climate change solution, a women's right to bodily autonomy, or incarceration rates, I think a vote for Nikki Haley helps diminish Trump's influence in the RNC and their nomination, but is also a vote towards democracy.
And Christian is emblematic of so many conversations that I've had here throughout the day. Rachel?
Alex, Christian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's good to have that perspective.
Man, they sure do love democracy, don't they? They'll cry all day about how the Electoral College is bad and Russian bots affecting things by posting memes on Facebook. They'll jail the owner of that Ricky Vaughn Twitter account for election tampering because he made a joke about calling in your vote to his 60,000 followers who are basically right-wing people anyway. But, purposely voting for the weaker candidate in the opposite party's primary is just fine and dandy. Now, some conservatives were rightly concerned that Democrats might try to exploit this during the primaries. But don't worry, USA Today said that couldn't happen because they fact-checked it. By the way, this is the same lady who said that there was no mattress in those Jewish tunnels in New York. So I don't know. Again, all of this is totally above board. I'm just saying it's a little strange for a party that's constantly whining about free and fair elections. That's all. But let me know what you think. Is this slimy, or am I blowing things out of proportion and it's basically how democracy is supposed to work? Let me know in the comments. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Bye!